What is up, guys? Welcome to Cerny Gaming. Hope you're all having a great time in Elden Ring so far. If you want to help support the channel, then don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons and drop your questions into the comment section below. Today we're going to be checking out one of the most challenging and visually satisfying bosses in Elden Ring, Dragonlord Placidusax. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that right, but if you're not sure who this is, then you're missing out on a really cool fight. This secret boss can be found in Crumbling Farum Azula, which is quite late in the game and also houses one of my favourite bosses so far, Malekith, the Black Blade. But before you get to him, you're going to be wanting to take a small detour from the beside the Great Bridge site of Grace. Head backwards the way you came, go down the elevator, take the stairs past the enemies until you get back outside, and straight ahead of you is a cliff. Go there, jump down and follow the rock formations. When you get to the end, you'll see some graves, one of which is empty. If you walk up to this, you'll be able to lie down in the empty grave with no prior knowledge or explanation of why. You would just assume that if you see an empty grave, taking a nap in it is a reasonable thing to do. We aren't questioning the whys and hows though, we're just obeying the prompt. Then we'll get transported to the Dragonlord's arena after a pretty cool cutscene. You can skip this part if you want. Now the fight doesn't start straight away and the boss is straight ahead in the middle of some kind of temporal stasis. This gives you ample time to decide what you want to do here, buff up and generally get ready for a really challenging fight. As a ranged character you'll have no trouble finding ample opportunities to deal damage, but if you're melee you'll have a tough time. This boss can perform incredibly high damaging claw strikes that leave lightning AoE in their wake. It can summon lots more lightning AoE around the arena as well, and breathe a yellow fire in a wide area around him. If you stand to his side, you'll be vulnerable to wing swipes, and behind, you're at the mercy of his tail. When the second phase starts, the boss will transform into a lightning cloud and navigate around the arena above you. When he rematerializes, he will swoop down in a swift and deadly strike, which you must roll through. Following this, the boss can dematerialize at will for the rest of the fight, and will do so often and repeatedly, reappearing behind you to perform a devastating claw swipe before disappearing again. Eventually he'll stop, but until then you can either run backwards or dodge through the swipes. So do you remember Medea's laser beam from Dark Souls 3? Well, Placidusax has that. When he starts performing this, sprint to his right side and you will gain an opportunity to get some hits in. Otherwise, you're in the firing line and you will get melted if you're not incredibly lucky. There are a few strategies that can work for this boss fight, but what we'll be covering today is an all-out offensive approach which will burn the boss down as fast as possible, because the longer he's alive, the wider the margin for error, and errors in this boss fight are usually fatal. Before starting the fight, summon Black Knife Tish. This is highly recommended because her special attacks have the amazing effect of decreasing the boss's total health pool, dealing a chunk of damage and then dealing significant damage over time. She's also mobile, fairly tanky, and can hold herself well until the second phase, where she and any other summon will melt really quickly. I'll be using Swarm of Flies along with my own Black Knife, which I'll be using for the weapon art that has the same effect as Tishi's Black Knife. Anytime I possibly can, I cast the flies to build up blood loss and use the dagger's weapon art to cut chunks of health away from the boss as fast as I possibly can. This is important because the sooner he dies, the higher the chance I'll live. While the boss does technically resist blood loss, Swarm of Flies builds the status effect up so aggressively that it doesn't really matter, and it won't take many casts before the proc hits and the boss takes a big chunk of damage. Similarly, the Black Knife Ash of War proc depletes health over time at a pretty high rate, which guarantees some sustained damage while allowing for mobility in between casts. Now, when the boss enters his second phase and starts getting more mobile, burning him quickly becomes more difficult because he can disappear whenever he likes. The times he's actually solid and on the ground must be taken advantage of for dealing high damage, and on a couple of occasions I even intentionally take a hit or two that I know that I can survive just so I can fire off some extra damage and get him down faster. That being said, our strategy remains pretty much the same, with a little more waiting and dodging. His right hand side behind his wing seems to be somewhat safe from most of his attacks. The lightning AoE falling around the arena will still hit you here, and his yellow fire can reach this far to his sides, but this spot affords you the most time to deal damage in between these and shouldn't provoke his wing slam or tailspin. When you finally get the boss down, you will be rewarded with a massive 280,000 runes on top of the Remembrance of the Dragonlord, which you can trade for either the devastating Placidusax's Ruin incantation or the Dragon King's Cragblade, which is one of the best weapons in the game. Thanks very much, guys. We're going to check out the full fight now so that you can see how it's done in action. Don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons, and as always, have a great time in your adventures in Elden Ring. Enjoy!